As the story progresses, we observe a rivalry between two competitors in the kickboxing arena, one of whom is named Eric Sloan. He triumphs over his rival in the fourth round, earning the title of world champion in his weight category. Following this victory, Eric is invited to demonstrate his skills in Thailand, accompanied by his brother, Kurt. They dive into the local culture, navigating the fascinating but unfamiliar landscape of this distinct nation. Eric wins over a local woman, presenting her with flowers, and takes her back to their hotel. During a training session, the brothers engage in a deep conversation about their childhood, reflecting on their parents' hopes for their futures, visions that sharply contrast with their current lives. While Kurt lacks fighting abilities, he is a steadfast supporter of Eric in his pursuits. Together, they arrive at the venue where Eric's match is set to take place. While Kurt steps away to get some ice for Eric, he unexpectedly encounters Eric's opponent. He is shocked by the intense look in the man's eyes and the force of a kick that sends debris flying from a nearby concrete column. Despite Kurt's urgent warnings, Eric remains unfazed, brimming with confidence in his skills and assured of his imminent victory. When the match begins, Eric experiences a setback in the first round but swiftly finds his balance again. His adversary unleashes a series of continuous and brutal assaults that he cannot endure. Kurt senses that his brother is on the brink of defeat and tries to persuade him to withdraw, but Eric's determination drives him back into the heat of battle. Seizing the opportunity, his opponent delivers a crushing attack to his back, causing him to collapse. Kurt watches the scene unfold and, when he attempts to step in, he is violently thrown from the ring by the wild kickboxer. The new champion coldly discards the championship belt, and Eric is treated with indifference, being unceremoniously tossed onto the street as if he were an unwanted stray animal. An American named Taylor comes forward to offer assistance. A nurse at the hospital informs them that visiting hours for Eric will not be until the next morning, leaving Kurt to endure a sleepless night in the hospital hallway. When morning arrives, the doctor brings them heart-wrenching news. Eric is now paralyzed and unable to walk, and he will need to stay in the hospital for at least 3 more months. Overcome with feelings of sadness and fury, Kurt considers taking revenge on the individual who harmed his brother, but Taylor advises against this course of action. The only feasible way to achieve vengeance would be to confront the kickboxer in the ring, raising the question of whether Kurt has the strength required for such a confrontation. As Kurt roams around the Thai temples, he struggles to come to terms with the situation he faces. During his journey, he stumbles upon a local gym and boldly requests a match with Tong Po, the fighter responsible for his brother's condition, but is met with derision and laughter. Outside the gym, Taylor catches up with Kurt and mentions that a trainer named Shen could potentially help him. They agree to pay Shen a visit the following day, but for now, Taylor is in the mood for some lighthearted entertainment, so they make their way to a strip club. At the club, Taylor enjoys some drinks and shares anecdotes from his past, while Kurt opts to stay sober, limiting himself to water and smoking. Taylor's motivation for helping Kurt becomes clear as he draws a comparison to a friend he had in Vietnam who encountered difficulties during a time when Taylor wasn't available to provide support. This experience has prompted him to ensure he stands by Kurt during this challenging period. In the early morning, they set off toward Shen's home. Tucked away in the jungle, the place is just a simple hut. Taylor counsels Kurt to be on his best behavior with Shen. However, as they near the house, Kurt inadvertently activates a trap, leaving him suspended upside down. In this precarious state, he finally meets Shen. As they introduce themselves, the conversation touches on a recent match involving an American kickboxer, and Kurt discloses that the defeated fighter happens to be his brother. Shen frees Kurt by untying the rope, causing him to drop to the ground. Once he regains his composure, Kurt earnestly asks Shen to train him, but Shen advises him to be patient and take his time. Nonetheless, Kurt is unwavering in his request. To assess Kurt's commitment, Shen assigns him the task of purchasing groceries for lunch from his niece, Miley, who runs a local store. Upon arriving at the store, Miley shares with Kurt that her uncle has decided to cease his teaching career and is seeking solitude. She expresses surprise at Shen's willingness to train Kurt. During their conversation, it comes to light that Tong Po has significant control over the area they inhabit. Suddenly, as 2 intimidating men try to grab Miley's belongings, Kurt intervenes and defends her, successfully overpowering the bullies. However, his actions frustrate Miley, as she worries that it might provoke further complications. Despite her concerns, she hands Kurt the groceries that Shen requested. Kurt heads back to Shen's hut just in time to see Taylor arriving with a bag filled with essential items. He settles in, preparing for his time at the hut. As dawn breaks, Kurt is abruptly awakened by a splash of water, signaling the start of his training regimen. Noticing that Kurt is running at a lackluster pace, Shen cleverly ties a piece of raw meat to Kurt's leg, which incites a dog to chase him, forcing Kurt to pick up the pace. An intimate dinner shared with Shen's niece ignites a spark of romance between Kurt and Miley, culminating in a heartfelt kiss. As Kurt's training intensifies, Tong Po continues to leave a trail of victims in his wake. During one particular training session, Shen directs Kurt to deliver powerful kicks to a sturdy palm tree. After delivering multiple kicks, Kurt begins to feel overwhelmed and worries he might injure himself, especially fearing a broken leg if he persists any longer. Shen then declares that Kurt is not suited for his training environment, stating that their sessions must come to an end. However, Kurt stands his ground and refuses to leave. In a pivotal moment, Shen brings up memories of Kurt's brother, reigniting the fire of determination within him. Pushing through the pain, Kurt summons all his strength for one final, powerful kick that sends the palm tree crashing down. Consequently, their training continues without interruption. After some time, Shen decides it's important for Kurt to relax, so he takes him to a nearby bar for a change of atmosphere. He encourages Kurt to let loose and engage in some dancing. As Kurt sways to the music, he catches the eye of a group of unruly thugs who suddenly decide to attack. Although Kurt manages to handle them easily, he turns around only to discover that Shen is outside, engaged in negotiations with some formidable fighters. Confused about the unexpected confrontation, Kurt learns that Shen had deliberately provoked the thugs, all as a means to assess Kurt's newly acquired fighting skills. Kurt's first match in the ring serves as a clear indication of his rigorous training. He delivers powerful kicks that quickly render his opponent unable to continue, resulting in a decisive knockout. The audience erupts with chants of White Warrior, highlighting the immense respect and admiration Kurt has garnered among the spectators. Later that evening, Eric's attention is drawn to a newspaper headline announcing Kurt's upcoming fight, stirring a wave of anger within him. Once upon a time, he was the boxer who graced such headlines, and the reminder is irksome. Determined to intervene, he makes his way to Kurt's home the following morning, with intentions of convincing him to steer clear of a confrontation with the formidable Tong Po. In a timely turn of events, the two receive a letter that confirms the imminent duel. They discover that Freddie Lee is the mastermind behind this matchup, stipulating that both fighters are to engage in traditional fighting styles. In a bold move, Lee takes out $1 million loan from his boss to place a significant bet on Tong Po's victory. The situation takes a darker turn when Miley, who has captured Kurt's heart, is kidnapped and assaulted by followers of Tong Po, with the kickboxer himself perpetrating an unforgivable act against her. Compounding the tragedy, Eric also finds himself taken by the same group, who inflicts severe harm on Shen's dog, clearly attempting to destabilize Kurt and unsettle him deeply. The fateful day of the confrontation was rapidly approaching. In accordance with the established ceremonial protocol, they meticulously soak their protective wraps in a viscous resin, subsequently embedding them with jagged fragments of shattered glass. Amidst this atmosphere of heightened tension and anticipation, Kurt maintained an unwavering composure. Shortly before the commencement of the combat, Freddie Lee approached Kurt with an unconventional proposition: to deliberately concede each round of the fight, thereby ensuring the safety of Eric. The ensuing battle was a ferocious display of physical prowess, with Kurt enduring a brutal onslaught and ultimately succumbing to the force of the blows, collapsing onto the mat. Concurrently, Shen embarked on a clandestine mission. During the second round of the contest, Kurt demonstrated a remarkable degree of resilience, successfully resisting a significant portion of Tong Po's relentless assault. Simultaneously, Shen surreptitiously infiltrated the location where Eric was being held captive, initiating a daring rescue attempt. However, Shen's efforts were thwarted, and he found himself ensnared in a perilous predicament. Fortunately, Taylor arrived at the scene in the nick of time, providing crucial assistance by neutralizing the remaining adversaries with gunfire. With Eric now safely liberated, the oppressive weight of their blackmail no longer burdened Kurt. The combat resumed with renewed intensity, and Tong Po inflicted a devastating blow to Kurt's abdomen, resulting in a gruesome display of blood. Tong Po's chilling revelation of Miley's assault ignited a fierce surge of rage within Kurt. As the next round of the contest was poised to commence, Eric's presence was subtly conveyed to Kurt, serving as a reassuring signal of his safety. The audience enthusiastically joins in, chanting White Warrior in Thai. Reflecting on his intense training, Kurt asks for his bandages to be taken off. Demonstrating an incredible combination of speed and strength, Kurt unleashes an unyielding series of powerful strikes on his opponent, ultimately sending him flying out of the ring. Reduced to a pitiful state, Tong Po grabs a torch and charges at Kurt, who skillfully deflects every attack aimed at him. When Tong Po tries to escape, Kurt confronts him and delivers a decisive knockout punch, avenging not only Miley and Eric but also the villagers who had long lived in fear of Tong Po's goons. Freddie Lee also does not escape the encounter without consequences, receiving a well-deserved hit himself. The triumph is joyously celebrated alongside Shen, Eric, Taylor, and Miley, filling them with hope and reassurance that everything will turn out well. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thanks and see you again soon. Take care.